Welcome back to another exciting episode. My name is Josh Kelly, and this is ISVs on Tap. Joining me today is Keith Szot with Esper. Keith, thank you for joining. Appreciate you being here in person.
Josh, thanks for having me. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you. All right, so Keith, Esper, do me a favor, give me a little introduction to you and how you joined Esper and a little bit of the story behind that.
Yeah, so I'm Keith Szot. I'm Chief Evangelist at Esper, and I've been with Esper for 6 years, so I joined us very early in our journey before we had any customers, achieving what's called product market fit. And with that have been with the company in various roles, helping us grow, but it's all been focused on how do we bring device management infrastructure to what we call the dedicated device space.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So you said you've been there for 6 years.
Yeah.
When was Esper formed?
So I would say that the seed of the idea was 2017, but we were officially incorporated in 2018, and today we're actually celebrating our 7-year anniversary of the company.
Congratulations, and he's here with me today, so thank you.
I left that just to be with Josh. Yes. And beer too, by the way.
And beer. It's not bad to have a cold beer when we're talking about this stuff. So I know you don't talk about this a lot, but which employee number are you?
I am the second U.S. employee, longest standing, so that other person left, so that makes me number one in the U.S. as an employee. The founders, of course.
Of course, yeah,
yes.
Right. All right, excellent, thank you. So, Keith, tell me what Esper is and what you guys are doing. I know you just touched on that a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, as an addendum to that question, can you talk about what differentiates you from some of the other mobile device management companies that might be out in that space?
Yeah, so the company started with the vision that there would be a proliferation of smart screens that would be used for what are dedicated device use cases. And the deployment and the management of these types of devices, the kiosk, POS, are fundamentally different than you see in the traditional IT type device management solutions. And in addition, while they have IoT-like characteristics, humans are involved, and so they're not IoT either. So there was this gap to focus on providing the right infrastructure to help these types of deployments be successul out in the wild.
Okay, so I know you touched on a couple different things here. So where's the bread and butter? Where's the sweet spot as far as either customers or device that you're looking to kind of manage the device?
Yeah, so I start out to say who are our key customers and constituents that use Esper, and this is IT operations. And that kind of helps define what we focus on in that when you're doing IT ops, you're managing revenue producing or key business operation driving fleets that are deployed on site typically. They're at location. And this is different than if you're managing a laptop for a knowledge worker as an IT staff, where your KPIs, what you're trying to achieve in running this fleet, is fundamentally different than what you see in the more traditional IT role. And so that's what we really focus on is for these types of deployments, which include kiosks, point of sale, digital signage, line busting tablet, KDS. How do we make sure that these IT operators have the tooling to keep the trains running, so to speak? Now, what makes us different is what we're doing is we're adapting and adopting the techniques that are used for DevOps. And DevOps seems kind of like an intimidating term, right? It's like this cloud stuff. But the fundamental principle is that you don't need to care about any device that's running properly on the edge. If it's running to spec that you have defined and you can have visibility with that device, you don't care because it's doing what it's supposed to do. What you care about are the devices that are out of spec, the trouble children. And this is managed by exception, which is a fundamental principle of DevOps. And so that's our approach. We have a blueprint. You define for that use case, what do you need that device to do? How does it need to be configured? What is the policy that's associated with a security asset? And with that, if that device that has that blueprint is within spec, all good. If it's not, it's in drift. And you need to be called attention to that and then give you the tooling to remediate, to fix that device remotely as much as possible. So I think that's a key difference is we have one customer set that we really focus on. It's IT ops, and that exists all the way from small business all the way to enterprise.
Okay. So you can handle a very wide range of business size.
Yes.
One. And then in addition to that, from we'll call it a coverage standpoint, which is probably not the right word here, but that's okay. From a coverage standpoint, you're looking at, you mentioned point of sale, hospitality, a lot of touchscreen computers.
Touchscreen computers.
So that's the sweet spot. But you also mentioned other things as well. So can we touch on the kind of the edge, some of these edge devices that you can potentially cover?
Yeah, and so our view is for Esper, what we're trying to do is offer the customer one control plane, one piece of infrastructure to manage all the devices at your location. So when you think about verticals, restaurants are very big for us, so restaurant operators, retail, getting into healthcare as well. And so through this view of managing at one location, we got the Android devices covered for many different use cases. We support iOS as well for those customers that have that mix in their fleet and want to complete it out. But that's one of the reasons why we recently rolled out our support for Linux. And so Linux gets you a few things. There are these dedicated devices that run Linux. You think kiosk, POS. But increasingly, IoT is becoming a more important part of the physical edge deployments that our types of customers and IT ops need to run.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go back to a previous point that you made.
Yeah.
When there's a device that's kind of what I envision here. I guess the analogy I would use is like a flock of sheep. All the sheep are doing good or pretty well. They're all staying together, and then there's one that just kind of drifts out. What you're trying to do, at least in my estimation, is let's get next to that sheep. Let's kind of guide them back into the pack of,
yes,
for lack of back.
And give you multiple ways to be able to do it. It could be as simple as reapplying what we call the blueprint to bring the device into spec because something happened to take it out, right? You lock down the device, but when humans are involved, many things can happen. And so that's one part of it. And then the other is like to be able to detect that drift and take whatever steps remotely that you need to. So that's where things like remote control come into play. Remote control is super valuable feature, being able to grab logs off of the devices and then also be able to take action as an IT operation person to get that device back where it needs to be for what you're trying to do, which is run your business.
Right. A downtime means loss of revenue, which turns into other things that can snowball. We don't want any of that. So very good. Now, we touched on Linux. What other OS or operating systems are you guys able to run off of?
So those are the big three right now as platforms, Linux, iOS, and Android. And when we say Android, there are two flavors involved in that. There's your Android Enterprise, which is called GMS, right? So this is what you see a lot of in consumer products, in vertical markets as well. But we also support the open source variant of Android. And that's used a lot in dedicated because you can fine tune and dial in your design, your deployment of your solution. And we also build an Android OS ourselves to take it to that last step. So think of us as when we look at what to do for these dedicated device solutions, we even live in the OS and can dial it in specifically for a customer's use case at scale.
Okay. All right. So what I'm hearing, again, is some customization involved if necessary. And now we have multiple conversations over the course of this morning already.
Yeah.
So I know some of this already, but I'm going to ask this.
Okay.
What I think I heard, at least if I heard correctly, is sometimes you have a case where you have to build a unique solution. And that solution then becomes, because one customer needs it, a lot of other customers don't realize they need it until they see it, and it becomes the norm, right?
Yeah.
At least that's kind of what I'm hearing. So at least from my estimation, you guys are able to adapt and adjust kind of what you guys are doing to accommodate your customers.
Yeah, I think some of that is focusing on hard customer problems, right? And since we're very focused on dedicated devices and IT ops, we're excited about these kind of challenges and use cases of working with leading customers to solve them. That gives us context and the ability to help the rest of the ecosystem the rest of the customer sets. I'll give you an example of, like, we're on AI. We have one customer, Minor Decliner, that built out a prototype AI solution that we did a bunch of the software work around and basically proof of concepted it because we want to be ready for edge AI. You know, our goal is to understand where things are going so that if you bet on us, our roadmap will align where you need to go and you have less worry about it and have opportunities to collaborate around what you need in order to make your IT ops system run smoothly.
Perfect. And then one last question is, who is your ideal reseller that you'd want to work with through the BlueStar network?
I think it's having the right type of relationship and trust to be able to be the advisor on behalf of the customer and then be able to identify the right type of use case. And so this is honestly a little bit challenging for us because people think MDM and you paint a broad brush with it. But being specialists, it's understanding, does the customer actually have an IT ops function associated with their business where people think about this? Do they have a need for it where, you know, they need to lock down these devices or precisely, they're unattended, and you're at risk. And that's the other part, is you really are at risk if you have a kiosk that's sitting out there that anybody can touch and do anything with. And so if you see those set of identifiers, it's interesting to bring us in because we can have a very good value proposition that, by the way, once you get in, we land and expand pretty well because customers really like us. And so it's a way to expand the conversation with your accounts if we happen to fit into that use case.
Right on, right on. Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate it. Is there anything else you wanted to mention about Esper?
Well, I did want to say the beer is very good. So a nice choice that we made to have some beer.
That's a great transition period. So cheers, everybody. Our beer today, Keith picked this out. He wanted to go with a local brew. So we have Rhinegeist Cheetah. As many of the Cincinnatians or Northern Kentuckians are aware, this is a Cincinnati-based lager. Keith, what do you think?
Delicious, a little thick, like slightly thick, but overall very drinkable, and I'm enjoying quaffing a bit while we chat, Josh.
Yeah,
Cheers to you.
Thanks for being on here.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers, everybody.
Go Esper, go BlueStar.